Hey guys, Rob here from Room 301. Today I'm joined by John Hoey, who is a digital marketing lead at a company called Maintel. Expect to hear why experience is more valuable than any degree in the marketing industry and why organisation and planning are the key to staying efficient in marketing. Let's get into it. John, how are you?
Very well, Rob. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm really looking forward to this.
No problem at all. Well, John, introduce yourself about where you work now, your history, how you got into marketing. That'd be great.
My name's John Hoey. I'm the digital lead at Maintel. We help organisations, both public and private sector, to deliver mission critical services. So we offer them efficiency, they can enhance the workplace and improve service delivery and ultimately customer experience.
So you're a bit of a unicorn, aren't you, John? You've done a bit of website, done a bit of SEO. Yeah, how did you get your experience? How have you become a bit of a unicorn?
Well, initially, I did a degree years ago in graphic design. So, that's kind of my foundation, but then kind of kick around from job to job in the middle. Like at the time, it was super difficult to get into kind of the industry unless you had experience. It's all about experience, isn't it? It's not necessarily about the degrees or anything like that per se. It's experience. So it took me a few years to get into it until I was in my 30s. But my dad had his own business and he says, I'm paying a fortune for a website. Can you do something to help me out? And so I started having a play and started building his website that way. And then kind of a bit more. And then a few other people started asking some questions and, and wanted me to do it that way. And then before I knew it, I'd had my own little freelance business and then moved on to the University of Birmingham as the web designer for the Students' Union there. And then moved on to a small marketing agency in Burwood, doing a bit more SEO. It was like the big thing then. You could build websites, and because you built a website, everyone was going, "Can you do some SEO for me?" So it was, and kind of understanding that and learning as you're going along. And then that kind of snowballed into, a couple of other roles. And then previously where I met you, Rob, at Air IT, and then like now it's at Maintel as the digital lead.
Excellent. I think being a unicorn in our game is a great place to be. It means when it comes to strategy, you can have an opinion about all parts of it. And when you are starting to pull in different people, different third parties, agencies, team members into that strategy, you've got a good idea of how it all fits together. Whereas if you're just a specialist in one area, it's hard to understand how other areas and other channels can impact what you're doing overall. So I think it's nice to have
Yeah,
a broad understanding of a lot of different things. So yeah, and obviously,
definitely. I remember one of my old managers, well, it was a director when I was at the uni. She said, "What will happen is that you'll find yourself, and it'll be okay. Do you deep dive into a certain area, or do you become more broad?" And I found myself initially deep diving into SEO, but then one thing when I did do I was an SEO manager at one point, but I actually found that I liked all the other bits as well, and being able to go, okay, well, how does that impact this, and what will that entail on the user experience of the website, and kind of really developing it that way. And so I've been quite lucky in that aspect.
yeah,
Um,
no, exactly. And obviously, running an agency myself, when clients come to us with various different services and bits and pieces, you have to have an understanding of what the impact can be. Well, look, for anyone that doesn't know, hopefully everyone does at this point, we ask three core questions on this podcast. One is what's in your toolbox, one is a failure, bonus points for being funny, and then finally, what's the pet peeve of our guest in regards to marketing? So, what we're going to put in room 301. So the first question is what's in your toolbox. So this doesn't necessarily have to be a tool or a piece of software, a SaaS platform. It could be anything. It could be a way of thinking. Obviously, we're all very busy, lots of different marketing channels to implement, lots of team members to manage, etc., etc. What helps you? What helps you stay efficient on a day-to-day basis, John?
well, my first one is I like to be organised. I think that's the kind of key. If you're going at a scattergun approach, it's it can be difficult, and so I like to try and make sure that my day is kind of organised as much as possible. So I forward plan quite a bit. Um, just even like the tiniest little things. There's a great book I read. I can't remember the name of the author, but it's called Hyper Focus, and like Hyper Time. So it's all about like planning your day out. And one area that taught me was like emails. So emails in the morning between 9:15, around lunchtime, because if you get a chance to have a lunch, you can sit there and just have 10 or 15 minutes to reply, and then of an evening as well. And then in between, you can go, okay, I'll deal with that later. I must have OCD something, because my inbox is clean and like very clear, so it's all
I'm the
organised.
same. I have to have an empty inbox, if not archived in certain folders based on what it's.
Exactly, yeah, that's it. And so I try and make sure that you know, at the end of the day, or the start of the day, it's all kind of folded, and so then it helps me plan my day. I always try and do, three key things a day. So if I've got 3 jobs to do, get them done. And then I'm kind of everything else. You will have bitty jobs as well, and you will be able to kind of decide what other little bits you can do as well. But if you've got 3 key things that you need to do for that day, and you've planned your week ahead as well, that really helps. And that's kind of what I tend to try and do. And then the other thing as well, I think it's, even from a workload perspective, it's great to always do tried and tested, but it's also good to experiment. So it's about like, okay, well, how can we do, if we're going to run this strategy on a certain piece of work or a project, what can we do to experiment with that, and what can we do that's slightly different? And that's something that we're trying to bring into Maintel, and to try and really kind of emulate now, and develop.
Got you. And do you use any sort of tools to manage you say 3 core things a day? Where does that live? In your head? Are you one of those sort of unicorns who can store it up here, or do
No,
you have
no,
tools?
it's mine is my planner. I have a work planner every day.
Old
You
school
know,
pen and paper?
pen and paper,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
and I think that helps me down, because it allows me then, and I know that there are tools that you can do for to optimize and AI and everything like that. But I think just being able to physically write it down and go, yeah, and then cross it off. I'm a very like checklist kind of person, so cross
Yeah.
that out, get that
No,
done, and then in
I,
my
I agree. There's lots of tools around now for organization, AI, like you say, to time block for you. But I think when you've been doing something for such a long time,
yeah,
it's very difficult to shake that, even if it's slightly more efficient to do it a different way. I mean, I organize my workload in the same way I have done for the last 20 years, which is um, I use something like Todoist or Trello, which sort of lists everything, but then I time block. So I stick it in my calendar in between meetings and
yeah,
stuff. I've just done that for as long as I can remember. I'm not a sort of person to miss a deadline. I typically get stuff done on time. I like to consider myself pretty efficient. But is there tools out there that would make that process quicker, easier? Probably. But
yeah.
it's learned
I think
behavior at this point.
definitely, and I think that's just for say my process. If we've got bigger projects and bigger campaigns, then it is like Monday.com. So that's there because you've got multiple stakeholders involved as well, and it's good that everyone can kind of to kind of understand and what they need to do and sign off. And yeah, I've used that in the past, and I think that's a good kind of tool then to bring everyone in. But that's just my own kind of personal thing when I'm using like pad and paper. I wouldn't necessarily, send that out to everyone on the, in a project to do the same thing.
No, no. Now I interviewed someone on a previous episode called Emma, runs an agency called Victor's, and she was exactly the same, very old school pen and paper. I think it goes in more. Seeing the ink go on the page, I think it enters the brain more, etc., etc. I probably need to do more analog stuff, to be honest, but there we go. Um, so failures. I'm a big believer that the more you fail, the more you learn effectively. Within reason. You don't want a catastrophe on your hands, but I think little failures here and there, trial and error, it helps you understand what works, what doesn't work, and sort of improve for later. So, John, what are some failures you've had in your career? And you do get bonus points for it for being funny as well. So, over to you.
Okay, well, the major one, which I think sometimes you can only it only happens when you do. I think as well. I think that's the key thing, and you're right. You've got to fail. Like that's how we learn and that's how we get better. My one was certainly I was freelancing, and I was building a website for a business in Birmingham, and I was working full time in the day and doing this kind of an evening as well, and I decided that I thought it'd be a good idea to launch the website on a Friday night at around 6 o'clock.
Never deploy on a
Um,
Friday, John. Everyone
yeah,
knows that.
exactly. Even now, like we've just launched our new website at Maintel. Like, I was like, right, it's gonna go Monday. Monday or Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So everyone's around, all the stakeholders are there in case we need anything. But I didn't, and because I was on my own as well, it was yeah, I can log into the system and upload it myself and get it all done for you, no problem at all. And when I logged into the system, there was 3 old WordPress websites in the same like folder structure as well. So it just opened a whole complete can of worms. And then you just kind of thinking, oh, how am I going to get this kind of sorted as quickly as possible? Everyone's gone home. No one wants to work on a Friday night. So that was kind of my biggie, and I learned very quickly not to not to do that. And I think the other ones as well are I've no indexed a couple of websites as well. When I did a bit early days of SEO, and then you kind of 2 or 3 days later going, what's going on there? Why is there no traffic in Google in Analytics? Or that's not that's things aren't pulling through correctly, and it's disappeared from search. And luckily, like you can, put things in place quite quickly afterwards. But
The thing is, you won't do it again, and
no,
you'll be able to take that experience of not launching a Friday into the businesses you've worked on their websites for. So, like I say,
yeah,
there's a benefit to all of this stuff. What did you do in the end? I mean, you were a freelancer, you were independent, so did you have to just work the weekend to fix it, or?
pretty much. Pretty much, I was able to get hold of one of the marketing manager at the time, and we managed to kind of get it up and running on the Saturday morning. So all out, always ends well, but yeah, certainly not something that I would consider doing again. Definitely.
No,
Um,
no.
so
So, Room 301, for anyone that doesn't know why we call this podcast Room 301, so anyone in SEO will know what a 301 redirect is. It's basically the art of redirecting something elsewhere, hopefully never to be seen again. So, that's the idea behind Room 301. We're putting stuff in there that annoys us, winds us up about marketing, never to be seen again, hypothetically. So, what are the things that you're going to put in there, John? What grinds your gears about marketing?
um, I think sometimes acronyms, like because it's really easy. It's really easy as a marketer to use like SEO, or to use words like ICP, like deal customer profile and things like that. And some people are going, what? You got to. I think you have to remember that not everyone's in your kind of area or remit, and I think that happens in any business. So it's not necessarily just related to marketing. I think just having the kind of understanding that not everyone will know what you're talking about, and I think using those kind of flashy words at times, to impress people, and ultimately we're in a business of results, and people want to drive revenue, and improve brand awareness and things like that. So it's a case of that's what they're more interested in, instead of like flashy keywords or anything like that.
So, with
Um,
you working in it's a PLC now, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
John.
it is. Yeah.
And presumably with that comes stakeholders, board, layers of management that maybe you've not experienced before. Have you found that the way you communicate about marketing had to change at all?
Um, yeah, I think so. I think I think experience is key, and I think the more you do it, the more you kind of understand that. And I think with the website that we've just launched, it's been a great project to do. But like you said, there's been multiple stakeholders involved in a PLC, and just for kind of context for people, we've got our compliance team, have to reviewing everything. So it's not just our privacy policy or cookie policy that you can just usually take it, because right down to the super detail, and all the contracts and policies have to go on the website, and the investor section that we've got had to be reviewed externally, to make sure that it had all the key components, you know that complemented that as a PLC, and that what we needed to set up. And then we've also got, as anyone, like for me, the key area is IT. They've got to make sure that from a security standpoint, that the website is built effectively, efficiently. There's no gaps. There's no kind of security concerns or anything like that. So when I came into the role, it was kind of tying those things together and communicating with all those different people. And it's worked well, and everyone's done a brilliant job in such a short space of time, because I've been here for less than 6 months now, and we completely rebuilt the website and launched it in that kind of period of time. And
That's
you know,
pretty
we've got
good.
a great,
Big old
yeah,
company.
we've got a great marketing team as well, so that everyone really pulled together, and a couple of late nights and lots of coffee. But you know, I said I'd deliver it, and we've done that. So, and now it goes on to the next stage. So it's, you know, strategy, and other kind of areas that will really develop and really put our mark down over the next kind of 12 months.
And do you find with it being a bigger company and maybe more layers of approval and maybe even scrutiny at times, it's harder to get ideas and strategies signed off, or is it easier in your experience?
Well, it's about, again, it's communication and engagement. So it's engaging with your stakeholder, you know, like, and the teams, and just bringing them all in and saying, okay, well, what are the low hanging fruit? What's the, you know, what can we do to help you really? You know, and kind of like to drive engagement, to drive leads and things like that. I've just had a great call with our SDR team, you know, and it was, you know, we're running a different a different campaign, like a white paper, sorry, campaign, and they're coming to me with ideas about, okay, well, how do we, you know, can we not just have a white paper? How do we develop that into 3 or 4 pieces of great content, which is going to be super useful, because our ICP, or sorry, ideal customer profile, is
Hey,
actually
careful, John.
there. There's me using acronyms
Yeah.
there as well. Um, the ideal person, customer profile is actually, you know, they don't have time to read it. So it's like, what can we do to put us at the forefront, you know, and really kind of work with them, to kind of understand that.
I mean, are you looking with that in mind then, if they're not reading it, are you looking at other forms of media, maybe video, maybe an audio podcast or?
That's it exactly. We're looking at different kind of areas. I mean, I'm sure from this podcast, it's great for yourself because you get to engage with your ideal customer profile from different people in different kind of areas and get an understanding of what they, you know, what they want and how they consume information and things. One of the, going back to the initial, you know, what's in your toolbox, I'm using a great tool at the minute called Spark Toro. I don't know if you've heard of that.
It's
It's
the same chap that founded Mars, I believe.
Moz, yeah. And we've brought that in because we're looking at, say, if we're looking at head of digital transformation as an example, where do they hang out? What do they, you know, what type of information do they consume, you know? And we've found that actually some of some of the bits that we are doing, that it's pretty much there, which is great, you know. So you're going, okay, well, that's on point. What other areas can we experiment with? And, you know, for the next kind of set of white papers or bits of information we can use.
No, that sounds good. Like you say, with this podcast, it's got various benefits. Obviously, I get to speak with the likes of you and who get an insight into how you're consuming content and sort of tips and tricks you have. But also, it gives our marketing manager, Pete, who'll edit this and put it out, but gives him 10, 15 different clips that we can put out on social media. It gives us a YouTube
Yeah,
video on the back of it because we record it in video as well. Obviously, a podcast that goes on Spotify, Reels for Instagram, LinkedIn video. Like, it gives us probably 30 pieces of content for the sake of half an hour recording. It's a really good bang for buck way of marketing in a world where people consume content like this now. They don't want to read
yeah.
things quite as much. So it's a really good platform for us. Anything else? What else annoys you, John? What else are you putting in room 301?
Um, I think people making decisions without using data. I think it's really easy to go, oh, it looks good. Oh, I did that because it looks great, or, you know, it's. And I'm really kind of data backed, so I try and use that as much as possible. So, like I say, things like this ideal customer profile, just being able to go, okay, so where do they go? What type of podcast did they listen to? Where, you know, what, you know, social media? Where do they hang out on social media? How do they do this? And this Spark Toro tool provides that as a snapshot. But then, you know, if you're not using your data correctly, you know, and you know, and it's that's not just for marketing, that's everyone. So it's sales as well. So it's putting all the data in to enable marketing to give them the best tools, or to give them the best chances to kind of hit that customer profile and to kind of generate those leads. So I think making sure that your data is there, correct, present, you've got everything that you need to. So it's just like Google Analytics is just like the really kind of basic one. And things like that can really help you.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm probably almost too data driven at times. I can become a little bit black and white when it comes to data. It's probably my own downfall. But what are the key metrics that you measure? What are most important to you in your day to day?
Well, I've obviously got targets, for leads as well. So, but because our funnel is so long, because we enterprise level IT, it can be up to 2 years potentially to win business, 12 months to 2 years usually. So for me, it's like I've got to generate X amount of leads on a monthly, yearly basis. So driving those kind of conversions on the website digitally, brand awareness as well. So how what the impact of our brand is across social media, areas like that. And I think that's kind of where we're at the moment, as a business. Like, well, as in the marketing team, we are looking at kind of. We'd love to put a revenue metric on that as well. I'd love to do that because I think now it's changing and using, I wouldn't say old school, but using forms for white paper downloads and things like that is, we want to turn it more from a lead gen to a demand gen kind of business, and really kind of push that. And that's an area that we're focusing on and trying to develop.
How do you get your first touch point with a customer? Did you do lots of sort of top of funnel stuff?
Yeah. Again, we're running white paper campaigns at the minute. We've got a whole series that are coming out over the next kind of 12 months to do that. We've just relaunched our website because the website not relaunched the website. We relaunched the brand refresh pretty much. From my understanding, it was 10, 15 years previously. So when I came into it, it was already kind of full into the works, on the go, and my kind of key areas to develop the website. So so it was making the website kind of fully functional and accessible to everyone, and then white papers, and we've got some other kind of projects in mind. I'm right in the middle of my digital strategy at the minute, so it's over the next kind of
It remains to be seen.
But again, because it's such a big business, we've got mid-level markets. We've got low. So we've got 3 key pillars in the business. So like unified communication, security, connectivity, and customer experience as well. So it's it's those kind of 3, and then there's multiple stakeholders within that. So it's making sure that we can give each team the what they need in order for them to go out and generate leads, as well as us contribute to that target.
And is it your responsibility to get the first touch point? And then you mentioned SDRs a moment ago. Do they continue it from there? So your first touch point, they sort of bring it to fruition over 18 months, 2 years, or?
Yeah, so that's as everyone, you'll have just a general kind of MQL. If a marketing qualified lead comes in, there's me using acronyms again. If that comes in, we'll then pass that over to the sales, to the SDR team, sales development reps. If there are any that come in which we can see and we can analyze and go, okay, there's a 100 user business with kind of ticking all the box just from kind of an IT level, we can then pass that on to our new business team or another team with the experience to develop that. Say if it's a tender that comes in, because we can generate inbound, as well as doing outbound. So if a tender comes in, we can hand that straight over. So because they're further down the funnel, then someone who's downloaded a white paper who may be interested in developing a service or developing their next steps, to go forward.
Excellent. Well, look, John, I really appreciate your time. Both of those 2 things will firmly go into room 301. Although it sounds like you're a bit guilty yourself of using acronyms, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of Yeah, MQLs is one, ICPs. But look, no, really grateful for your time. John, where can people find out more about you and Maintel if they would like to?
Yeah, well, obviously we're on our main social media is LinkedIn. You can find myself on there as well. Maintel.co.uk. And yeah, just if anyone would like to connect, then please feel free. I'm happy to have a chat. And yeah, great.
Lovely. Appreciate that, John. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon.